Imagine this: a man stands at the door of a quiet suburban home, his heart pounding like a drum in a storm, clutching a simple bouquet of flowers. It's the birthday of his late brother's wife, a woman he's avoided for 3 long years out of grief and unspoken fears. As the evening unfolds amid forced smiles and hidden tears, she pulls him aside and whispers words that shatter his world. "Matthew, I've been waiting for this day to tell you. I need you in my life, not as a memory, but as family. Please, don't disappear again." What follows is a tale of shattered hearts mending in unexpected ways, where loss doesn't end love but reshapes it into something unbreakable. Stick with me through this emotional journey, and by the end, you'll see how one unthinkable confession can heal a family on the brink of forever breaking apart. Matthew Thompson had always been the steady one, the older brother who fixed things: leaky faucets, broken bikes, even the occasional bruised ego. But nothing prepared him for the day 3 years ago when a frantic phone call shattered his world. His younger brother, Aaron, had been killed in a horrific highway accident, leaving behind a wife, Rachel, and no children of their own. Matthew, already a single father to his 2 kids, Caleb, now 10, and little Nora, 7, suddenly found his life entangled in ways he never imagined. Aaron and Rachel had been the picture-perfect couple, high school sweethearts who built a life full of laughter and dreams in their cozy home in suburban Chicago. Matthew envied them sometimes, especially after his own marriage crumbled under the weight of long work hours and unspoken resentments, leaving him to raise Caleb and Nora alone. In the blurry days after the funeral, Matthew stepped up as best he could. He helped Rachel sort through Aaron's belongings, mowed her lawn when the grass grew too high, and even dropped off casseroles from neighbors who didn't know what else to do. But as the months dragged on, an invisible wall grew between them. Rachel's grief manifested in quiet withdrawal. She threw herself into her job as a schoolteacher, filling her days with lesson plans and her evenings with solitary walks. Matthew, meanwhile, buried his pain in fatherhood and his construction business, convincing himself that distance was respectful. "She's Aaron's widow," he'd tell himself late at night, staring at the ceiling. "What right do I have to intrude?" Deep down, though, he knew it was more than that. Seeing Rachel reminded him too much of Aaron, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, just like his brothers, or how she'd absent-mindedly hum the same old tunes Aaron loved. It was a mirror to his own loss, and it hurt too much to look. The kids felt it too. Caleb, with his messy brown hair and inquisitive eyes, often asked why Aunt Rachel never came over anymore. "She used to read me stories," he'd say, his voice small. Nora, still young enough to blur memories, clung to a faded photo of Uncle Aaron holding her as a baby, sometimes whispering questions Matthew couldn't answer. He tried to fill the void: weekend trips to the park, homemade pancakes on Sundays, but the emptiness lingered like a fog. Challenges piled up. Matthew's business hit a rough patch during a harsh winter, forcing him to work overtime and leaving the kids with sitters more often than he liked. Caleb started acting out at school, getting into fights over nothing, while Nora had nightmares that woke the house. Matthew sought solace in his faith, attending church sporadically, praying for strength, but doubts crept in. "Why take Aaron?" he'd whisper in the quiet sanctuary. "We needed him." Rachel's side was no easier. Living in the house she and Aaron shared felt like a museum of frozen moments, his favorite mug still in the cupboard, his jacket hanging by the door. Friends urged her to date again, but the idea felt like betrayal. She volunteered at church, helping with youth groups, finding fleeting purpose in guiding others through their troubles. Yet loneliness gnawed at her. Birthdays came and went unnoticed. Her 35th loomed like any other day, until a small card arrived from Matthew's kids, a handmade drawing of a cake with "Happy Birthday Aunt Rachel" scrawled in crayon. It stirred something in her, a spark of warmth amid the cold. She decided to host a small gathering, inviting a few friends and, after much hesitation, Matthew and the kids. "It's time," she told her reflection in the mirror. "We can't keep running from each other." As the day approached, tension built like storm clouds. Matthew debated not going 100 times. "What if it's awkward?" he confided to his best friend over coffee. "What if she resents me for being the one who survived?" His friend, ever the voice of reason, replied, or what if she needs you more than you know? Rachel, too, second-guessed herself, pacing her living room, rearranging decorations to distract from the butterflies in her stomach. The kids, oblivious to the undercurrents, buzzed with excitement, Caleb practicing a joke he thought was hilarious, Nora clutching a wrapped gift of homemade cookies. Little did they know, this birthday would unearth buried emotions, forcing everyone to confront the raw edges of their grief. The evening started innocently enough. Matthew arrived with the kids in tow, the bouquet in hand, his smile strained but genuine. Rachel opened the door, her face lighting up at the sight of Caleb and Nora, who barreled in with hugs. The house smelled of vanilla cake and fresh flowers, soft music playing in the background. Friends mingled, sharing stories of Aaron that brought both laughter and tears. Matthew hung back, nursing a glass of soda, watching Rachel interact with ease. She looked different, stronger, perhaps, with a new haircut and a spark in her eyes he hadn't seen since before the accident. As the night wore on, the guests thinned out, leaving just the family. The kids played in the backyard, their giggles a balm to the adults' heavy hearts. Rachel and Matthew sat on the porch, the air thick with unspoken words. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "It means more than you know." He nodded, swallowing hard. Aaron would have wanted this. But inside, doubts swirled. What was he doing here? Could they really bridge the chasm Aaron's death had created? As the stars began to dot the Chicago sky, the evening took an unexpected turn. The kids, exhausted from play, curled up on the couch inside, watching a cartoon. Rachel refilled Matthew's glass, her hands trembling slightly. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He followed her to the kitchen, where the remnants of the party, half-eaten cake and scattered balloons, created a strangely intimate backdrop. She leaned against the counter, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "Matthew, I've been thinking about this for months. Avoiding you, it's been killing me. You're the only piece of Aaron I have left that's still alive, breathing. The kids, they're his nieces and nephew, but more than that, they're family. I've been so lonely, and I know you have too." He froze, unsure where this was heading. "Rachel, I didn't want to overstep. You're his wife, widow. I thought space was what you needed." She shook her head, tears welling up. Space turned into silence, and silence into isolation. "Do you know how many nights I've sat here, wishing for just one more family dinner? Not as a replacement for Aaron, God, no, but as a continuation. The unthinkable thing is, I've realized I need you in my life. Not just visits or cards, but really here. Be Uncle Matthew to me too, in a way. Let's be family again. Please, don't disappear." Her words hit like a thunderclap. Unthinkable, that's what it felt like. Matthew's mind raced back to the accident, the guilt he carried for not being there that night, the what-ifs that haunted him. But what about the pain? "Seeing you reminds me of him every time." She reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "And that's exactly why we need each other. Pain shared is pain halved. The kids need an aunt who can tell them stories about their uncle. I need a brother-in-law who can fix the sink without me calling a plumber. We can honor Aaron by living, not by hiding." The conversation stretched into the night, raw and unfiltered. Matthew opened up about his struggles, the business woes, Caleb's school troubles, Nora's fears. Rachel shared her own battles, the empty bed, the holidays alone, the well-meaning friends who pushed her to move on. Challenges emerged in their stories, the fear of betrayal to Aaron's memory, societal whispers about a single dad and his brother's widow growing close, even their own internalized guilt. But as they talked, resolutions flickered to life. They agreed to start small, weekly dinners, joint outings with the kids, even attending church together. "We'll take it one step at a time," Matthew said, his voice steadier. "For Aaron, for the kids, for us." In the weeks that followed, the family began to knit back together. Caleb's behavior improved with Rachel's gentle guidance. She helped him with homework, sharing tales of Aaron's mischievous youth that made the boy laugh. Nora blossomed, calling Rachel Auntie Ratch with unbridled affection. Matthew's business picked up, perhaps fueled by the emotional weight lifted. Rachel found joy in the chaos of family life, her home echoing with voices again. There were setbacks, a tearful argument when old grief resurfaced, an awkward moment at a family gathering where assumptions were made, but they navigated them with honesty and faith. Matthew rediscovered prayer not as a plea for answers, but as gratitude for second chances. By summer's end, as they gathered for a picnic in the park Aaron once loved, Matthew looked at Rachel chasing the kids with water balloons and felt a profound peace. Love hadn't died with Aaron, it had evolved, binding them in new ways. The inspiring message was clear: in the face of unimaginable loss, courage to reconnect can transform sorrow into strength. Family isn't just blood, it's the choice to show up, to heal together, to let love live on. And in that choice lies the true miracle of life after loss.